Hello and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Caelan and Ranok had an argument. After Ranok let slip that he's basically gonna dump Caelan in Strandbard. Which, I hate to say it, but we kinda saw coming. So, yeah. Now, if you are on the internet and you have Twitter, or basically you subscribe to any social network that happens to talk about furry stuff, especially furry related drama, then you probably know what to expect from this update. If you don't, then fair warning that that something might happen which might divide some of you, and I already know how I feel about it. So I'm gonna reserve my feelings about the situation until the end, especially because it is at that part which, is sort of... But yeah. Anyways, I guess without further ado, we should begin and see what's going to happen. To my surprise, no nightmares follow. I half expected the whispers to be rubbing this in my face. Instead, I wake up shivering to a chilly, harsh morning, and the sun doesn't shine. How fitting. After our grim exchange the previous night, the gray skies above reflect my mood perfectly. Although we're hidden deep inside a thicket, shielded by the woodland canopy, I can see in the distant clearing droplets cascading down and splattering against the dirt. It's raining. It seems like the last leg of our journey will be the most arduous, both on account of our soured moods, but also the very unpleasant weather. It's much colder than any other day so far, and I assume it's because we're at the forest's edge. Verissa did say that Turnin had its own microclimate, and now I get to experience it firsthand, with the world at large firmly in the grip of winter winds. I've left breakfast for you by the fire. The wolf pokes his head inside the tent, almost likely hearing me stirring from my sleep. His expression is appropriately solemn, but I don't care for it one bit. I throw my gaze away, letting him know that we're not on talking terms anymore, and the wolf leaves. I half hoped that he'd run off into the night, leaving me here to die alone. He might as well have, as nothing makes sense now. What am I even supposed to do? How am I to survive in this foreign world alone? I'm so embarrassed looking at the now crusty covers marked by his release, and the anger stirs up inside of me again. Just a plaything. Exactly. I got him off, and he fucking drops such a bombshell and bolts. Who the fuck does he think he is? Use without remorse. Yes, he did use me. That fucker... No. Wait, no. Fuck. I slam my fist into the bedding. Again, my emotions are running riot, and that damn thing tries to ramp them up. I'm not even allowed to process this mess on my own. But no, I won't play into my anger. He didn't use me. I wanted it. In fact, he was reluctant. We both gave in to our cardinal desires. That's no one's fault. But he hid a decision that was made for me, and one that very much affects my entire life moving forward, and I wasn't even consulted. He duped me. Like an unwanted pup, I was lulled into a false sense of love and security just to be led away on a leash and left in the hands of a complete stranger. But if he thinks I'll be begging for him to take me back, he's got another thing coming. Both you and him can suck it. I'm done being played. Begrudgingly, I remove the covers and get ready. Once my cloak is secured, and I'm somewhat shielded from the elements, I step outside and walk up to the still sizzling pan. Bacon and eggs with a slice of fire-roasted bread. It was good enough for our first breakfast, might as well be for our last. I sit down and grab a fork, poking at the eggs with suspicion. I don't remember us bringing those. Found a pheasant nest. The wolf butts in, clearly noticing me toying with the food, and my expression betrays an obvious concern at his apparent egg napping. Don't worry, I've only taken half of them. Gives a better chance for the rest of the brood. He shakes his head, but I still look at the pan unconvinced, drawing an exasperated sigh from the male. Believe me or not, but pheasants lay around 10 to 12 eggs. Once they hatch, it's just a game of numbers. Rarely more than 3 chicks survive. This way, the mother will have fewer mouths to feed and will be able to care for them better. As always, he finds an answer for everything to do with forestry. I might be angry with him, but I shouldn't put his life's work and education into question, so I decide to shrug it off and dig in. As always, the breakfast is delicious, and despite my bitterness, it's a pretty welcome start to this otherwise gloomy day. I can't really tell the difference between the pheasant eggs and regular ones. They taste the same to me. The only thing turning my stomach is the fact that it's filled with his jizz, and the running yolk constantly reminds me of that. I hate that he made breakfast, again going out of his way and foraging so early in the morning. Why does he always have to do this? To be thoughtful and so extra, even when he's in the proverbial doghouse. It makes being angry with him that much harder and upsetting, almost as if I'm the bad guy here. I finish the food in silence, wiping away stray droplets that make past the leafy rooftop above, while the wolf begins to pull up our camp. Despite our fight, I decide to aid him. I might be seething on the inside, but how would being petty help in this situation? Besides, I want to get to the city as soon as possible. Spending another night out here together would have been a nightmare. Once everything's folded and packed, we get on the way. Miles add up one by one, with Ranok trying to casually start an idle conversation every now and then, but I simply shut them all down with cold glances. I don't want small talk. I think we're past that. Scattered splotches of drizzle reaching the road from up above make me realize we're approaching the edge of Turnen. The tree line is slowly thinning, and there's an apparent brightness of open space ahead of us. When, within an hour, we finally reach the opening, I stop and gasp. The forest just ends abruptly, forming an arched entryway made up of the canopy linking above. I look back to the Sullivan Road, cutting into the woods like a tunnel, seeming almost like an entry to the secret garden. In front of us, there was a rolling landscape dotted with fields, pastures, and border greenery separating them. It's oh so enchanting and open. The vast openness is what speaks to me the most. There is a sense of freedom, but also a freefall as I gaze into the distance. Never did I realize how constrained everything seemed within a forest. You cannot see the horizon, so everything feels local and compact. This is like looking down a deep well, where you don't see the bottom. It's exciting. I take a deep, greedy breath of this newfound sense of freedom, resting my hand on a mossy, carved stone on the roadside, much different from the milestones we've passed so far. Only now I actually paid any mind. It's a stele, intricately decorated with knotted patterns and stylized wolves and moons. There is a partially faded inscription in the middle, but it doesn't prove too hard to read. Here begins the ancient realm of Turnen, safe from trespass since time immemorial, and the woven tribes keep it, enter at own peril. Well, that's inviting. I mutter under my breath, the first words spoken by me since yesterday. At first the wolf's taken aback, but quickly decides to not make much of a deal of it and shrugs. It's a border stone. It does exactly what it's supposed to, warn strangers of consequence. Strangers like me. My voice is cold and sharp as the morning itself, but Ranok clearly has no patience for it. Look, I really do not want to argue. You know why you cannot remain. Yep, the stone is making it quite clear. You're acting like a pup. It's not only your life on the line. He sneers and I open my eyes in shock as the wolf storms off. So that's how it is. To him, I'm just a liability. You think you're strong? And perhaps you are. I say, sluggishly following him down the road and grabbing his reluctant attention. You're certainly stronger than I am, or anyone I've met in the village for that matter. But strength alone can only take you so far. No one's ever an island. Think of me what you must. I've already left one loved one huddled in the dirt, and I'm about to do that to another. You cannot hate me more than I already hate myself twice over. He gives me a side glance for a brief moment, his green trembling eyes drilling into me, but he quickly shakes his head and speeds up the tempo. There really isn't much sense in us talking anymore. What else is there to say? He has made up his mind, and I have no cards to play. I give Chernin one last, heavy look, laden with the troubling fact that the mighty sea of trees will fade away forever with each new step I take. I'm not just torn away from the only place I know, or can even remotely call home, but I also was denied the right to say proper goodbyes. Verissa got one, as I think that she was in on the whole shargan, judging by her odd behavior. But Vol, Trist, even Cora. On their account, I'm distraught, and it makes the ordeal that much harder to forgive. I don't even know if that they would care that I'm gone. I am truly lost. Our uneasy journey continues in this lackluster downpour. It's neither rain nor is it dry. It's very humid, and one gets soaked trudging through it all, almost as if water were suspended in the air. I try to distance myself from this misery, but it gets harder with each passing hour. I'm exhausted. Even without the emotional strain, the journey itself would have taken a toll on me. I'm tired, uncomfortable, sad, and angry. I fear that my emotions are slowly boiling up to a breaking point, and with the whispers at the back of my mind, I don't want to lose control of my tongue. To distract myself, I simply turn towards the scenery, trying to take in the surroundings, but it's a very depressing sight. Even without the rain and the overcast, it would have been gloomy. This land is impoverished, with sparse farmsteads not differing much from the woven hovels. The fences are not mended, and some rooftops have clearly missing patches of thatching, while other houses look outright abandoned. It's a sorry sense indeed, with barely a living soul in sight. Not at all what I expected the mighty land of tigers to look like. I resign myself to our solitary march, deciding that there's not much joy or encouragement to draw from sightseeing. But that's when we're both startled by a sudden voice coming from behind one of the stone walls flanking the road. By the light's grace! It's a human, as I live and breathe! Oh, young fella, come here just a moment. A stocky yet tired-looking farmer waves at us, emerging from behind the wall. He's been doing some weed control, judging by his earth-stained clothing and a rusty sickle covered in sticky greenery. Ignore him. Why? I shrug, approaching the still waving tiger. I'm not going to pass on my first interaction with an outsider. Besides, I'm mighty curious how my language hopping skills will play out. Caelan, considering you're about to abandon me here, your opinion doesn't matter much anymore. I say bluntly and approach the farmer. Hello there, curious company you have. Indeed. I cast my reluctant gaze towards the wolf. You look quite weary. You've traveled far? About 70 miles, give or take. 70 miles? My, that's quite a journey you had. It wasn't all that bad, but this weather makes it less agreeable. The tiger chuckles softly and nods. I bet it does. Seems to me you're in dire need of some refreshments. He rubs his chin. I have cool milk and some cheese and jerky in the larder. I'm happy to share. If you'd like, there's also a bottle of old port I've opened but a day ago. That sounds lovely, actually. No time. Ranok utters harshly as he joins us, but the farmer pays him no mind. Of course there's time. The boy's exhausted, can't you see? Carrying your load, no less. I shiver at the unfortunate choice of words when my attention is drawn to Ranok's sudden, clunky speech. Strandbard, must be today. You wouldn't reach the city until the 18th hour, and by then, everyone there gets mad like a bag of bees. The rounded male laughs, shaking his head and pulling out his jacket. No, it is much better for you to rest up and get there by evening. Come. He doesn't relent, bidding us to walk towards the gate, which he opens invitingly. I, for one, am inclined to follow, as I'm still stewing over our morning exchange. Besides, I've wanted to meet another kin ever since I woke up. Talking tigers indeed. and on the subject of talking, he seems to understand me perfectly. You live here alone? I ask as I follow the male towards his humble-looking cottage. In all respects, it looks very much like Ranok's house, which, to my annoyance, makes me incredibly homesick and sad. I won't get to see it ever again. No, usually my wife and daughter keep me company, but they're away now, visiting with their grandmother, a village over. The male chatters on, opening the door and guiding me inside with a swish of his paw. It's hard to pay attention to what he's saying over my constantly shifting mood, but I'm pulled back into the conversation by his last words. She's taken ill. Most likely it'll be her last spring. They're saying goodbyes. Shouldn't you be there with them? And who would look after my herd? There's sheep and cattle going missing every night. Missing? Thieves and ruffians, most likely. I've been lucky thus far, but some of my neighbors lost as much as half of their livestock. The city guards supposedly do what they can, but it's not like the rich folk in their fancy houses worry about us peons out here. He scoffs dismissively, gesturing towards the table. Please, sit. My home is your home, but yes, I'm needed here. Besides, we have never seen eye to eye, she and I. Better she go in peace than to be forced to endure my sight. So, what will it be? Cool milk or mulled wine? I smile, both at his blunt words and anxious rubbing of his paws. He seems genuinely happy to have guests, so I decide to relax and sate my curiosity. Mulled? Boiled with spice and herbs. It'll warm you up on this chilly morning in a flash. That sounds quite lovely, if it wouldn't be too much trouble. No trouble at all if I'll get to wet my whiskers as well. He laughs and walks over to a large brick stove. There's fire going deep inside its bellows, with 2 pots bobbing in a merry rhythm of the boiling contents. Make yourself comfortable, the furniture ain't much, but I've never been an artisan. He mutters as he fills a pot with wine and sets it on one of the metal rings. I look down at the bench on which we're seated. It's simple, true, but comfortable. Functional is always better than pretty, I'd say. Pretty things tend not to last long. You've made them yourself? Indeed, why waste money on some overpriced city ponds when I can cut wood just as well? I smile, noticing Ranok tracing his paw across the armrest, clearly admiring the craftsmanship while the tiger rummages through his cupboards. Gentle flickers of the wolf's tail tell me that he's quite pleased with another man's work, and I'm almost taken in by it. Almost. It doesn't take me long to remind myself that I am angry with him. Before I get to sour my mood again, the farmer plops a wooden plate in front of us, filled with some smoked meats and cheese. Here you go, eat up while I get the wine ready. Thank you. I nod, idly picking at the food, as not to appear ungrateful. The food is nice, but I am not very hungry, both on the count of a filling breakfast and the fact that my stomach is now tied in knots. The manners are lost on Ranok, however, who simply looks around in complete disinterest. I've noticed the collar, dear boy. I hope you're not in any trouble. I know what those mean. He says softly, taking advantage of Ranok's distracted state. No trouble at all. I shake my head. I've gotten so used to it that I keep forgetting about the damn thing. I really don't need a scene caused by a well-meaning person trying to rescue me. In fact, I'm being escorted to the city. Kind of your master. One rarely sees a wolf release a slave, let alone escort him. The male whispers under his breath and returns to the counter. I'm not a slave. Glad to hear it, boy. But how did you end up with that collar then? It was a gift. I sigh, and again my mood is taking a turn for the worse. I wear it as a sign of appreciation, but truth be told, I might as well take it off. You better. Doesn't send the right signal around these parts. He nods, returning to the stove and tinkering with various little boxes. For a moment, I consider his advice, but I don't think I'm emotionally strong enough to part with the collar just yet. I grew too attached to it. I simply rest my chin against my hands and wait as the cottage fills with a cozy smell, very reminiscent of Christmas. It must be all the spices and herbs he's mixing in. Does he speak Tigiri, or is he purposefully rude? The farmer bobs his head towards Ranok, whose gaze is glued into the window and the world beyond. It's very obvious that the wolf would rather be out there than here. As he doesn't respond, I finally elbow him, drawing a reaction from the male. "No, me speak," he utters reluctantly. "Little to talk." His broken speech leaves no doubt that we've all switched to Tigeri, and my confusion mirrors that of the farmer. "Ah, must be a struggle." The male shrugs and decides to let the wolf be, returning his attention to me. "So, how did one of our own end up in the custody of a wolf?" "I was ambushed in the woods and left there to die." "Oh my, what has the world come to?" He frowns, stopping his stirring for a moment and facing me with a worried expression. "I don't remember much of it, but this wolf saved my life." Now that is a story one doesn't often hear, a wolf saving a life instead of taking it. Wolves, not killers. Ranok's ears fall flat as he gives the tiger a challenging stare. It's evident that he pays attention to the conversation despite appearing disinterested. The farmer just scratches his head in faint confusion. "Aren't they? Pardon me, it just seems an impression they so tirelessly try to give. Your kind is neither farmers nor herders. You don't live off the land. You live off of others, and that hardly comes by without violence," he says in a stern tone, and I can see Ranok's body tensing up. I place my hand on his hip, letting him know that I really don't want a scene. We're guests here, after all. Thankfully, the tiger simply says his piece and moves on, bringing over the boiling pot to the table. Either way, what's done is done. He pours a generous share into a large mug and pushes it over to me. "Here you are." The tiger smiles, continuing to distribute drinks while I take hold of the warm mug. It feels nice to have the heat seep into my skin through the clay, but the smell, oh, it's near intoxicating. I take an impatient sip, and my tongue is hit by a symphony of flavors I haven't felt in, well, ever. The wine is fruitier than a regular one, and somehow sweet and tart at the same time, almost as if someone melted a berry-flavored lollipop. I moan, taking the experience in with satisfaction. The herbs and spice push the whole thing over the edge, delivering a pleasant, warming sensation radiating down my throat. "Thanks, but no drink." The wolf refuses, either suspicious of the fragrant beverage or simply in protest against the previous words of our host. "Are you sure? It's delicious." "I'll leave it here in case you change your mind. If not, more for me and the wee lad." "I wouldn't mind seconds." I gasp between greedy mouthfuls. "It's absolutely wonderful. Whatever you did to it, it worked like a charm. I feel warm inside already." "Haha, see? What did I tell ya?" The tiger laughs, taking a celebratory sip from his own cup, but seeing Ranok just sitting there, he gently nudges the third one towards him. "How about you, warrior? You sure you don't want to give it a try? I doubt you have much spices laying around in those woods." Ranok just gives him a telling, fuck off stare, and I feel slightly sorry I brought it onto this extremely hospitable tiger. But to my relief, the farmer is taking it into strides, and simply shrugs. He seems to be the broody type, doesn't he? Then again, wolves are known for their dislike of us. I don't think it's that, sir. I finally decide to pitch in, the delicious wine quickly restoring my more generous mood. Please don't take it personally. Ranok is many things, but a bigot is not one of them. Oh? I nod affirmingly. Well, that's a testimonial any kin would be proud to wear on their sleeve. If only he made it believable. The tiger responds with clear doubt, and I can't blame him. But I also can't blame Ranok. Today is not a good day for either of us, and the strain of being exposed like this is apparent on the wolf's pleading muzzle. Leave? Please? No, I need a break, and I need someone's company. I respond, looking at him with a slightly apologetic gaze. If this is our last few days together, I don't want to say something to you I might regret. The tiger is the only thing ensuring that I can be civil about this. Caelan. He nearly whimpers, but I notice a somewhat confused, borderline, shocked expression from the tiger, which indicates that I've just spoken Woven in front of him. I don't want to disrespect our host like this. I shake my head, finally facing the tiger. Please forgive me, sir. No, not at all. Quite interesting to see an otherkin wield the woven tongue like that. He still struggles to get rid of his puzzled expression and rubs his chin awkwardly. I'm sorry if I am a bit spellbound, but as you can imagine, not much happens on this road. Well, nothing good at least. You and that wolf are close, I take it? Yes. I reply reluctantly, as the last question felt awfully loaded. Please don't take my forwardness as an insult, but one does not live on this good old earth as long as I do without picking up a thing or two. There seems to be some tension here. Yes, we're having a disagreement. Oh? I shuffle slightly in my seat, unnerved by his intense stare, but at the same time, it would feel good to talk it out with someone, even if it means venting just the gist of things. He's made me a promise that he now refuses to keep. My, promises are serious things. The farmer muses, taking a prolonged slurp and giving a curious glance to the wolf. Especially between friends, I take it that's what you are? Ranok meets his gaze and nods, clearly aware of the conversation. Listen to me, wolf. Kin come in all shapes and sizes, and they always stick to their own. He says in a rather harsh tone, preceded by a kinder look in my direction. Bridging that natural chasm takes a soul that soars above all other, for it sees beyond what's temporal. If light blessed you and crossed your path with such a spirit, you do not let go so easily. For they are 1 in a million. You seem to be one of them yourself. I smile gently, returning the compliment between the sips of the mulled wine. Huh, maybe. Wasn't always the case. The tiger shrugs. I used to be wary of strangers, be they otherkin or tiger. In fact, if you saw a tiger in these parts who wasn't a local, you could be sure that he was either an Imperial agent looking to tax you, or a noble bored out of his wits chasing adventure. The male scoffs into the distance. Only 2 certain things in life, death and taxes. Ha! Well spoken, my lad. Well spoken indeed. He laughs at my quip, and I decide to entertain this shift in conversation. It's a good distraction from my current predicament. I can understand the drive to seek adventure too. It's nice to shake up one's life. Perhaps, but nobles don't shake up theirs. Usually it's us wee folk who end up shaken, either for gold or left with a burning scar to mend over the following decades. The farmer's tone of voice takes an unexpectedly somber turn. What do you mean? I wasn't born yet, but it wasn't too long ago for us to forget. A bored noble encroached on the woven territory, committed some foolishness, and that resulted in a war. The tiger sighs heavily and swaps places with Ranok, him looking warily into the world beyond the window, and the wolf finally looking indoors towards us. That war engulfed everything all the way to Strandbard, burnt farms, killed livestock, countless lives lost. But the tigers won the war. Did we? Didn't feel much like winning. Not to us, we folk at least. He scoffs yet again. This land is desolate and barren, hundreds of families slaughtered or fled, never to return. They might call it the Heartland, but in truth, it became a wasteland. Nobles are fine, of course. He jeers, taking a long, spiteful swig of his cup. They retreated to their stone keeps and palaces, never to be touched. Yes, my friend, adventures might be fine for the folk bored of living. Us? We just want to live, and life thrives best in peace and quiet. You lost someone? Ranok asks, taking me by surprise. His gaze turns soft as he looks to the tiger with intent, almost as if he read his troubled mind. I didn't realize he was listening. My grandfather and his brother died defending their home long enough for Grandma to flee with my infant father. There isn't a farmstead in 50-mile radius that didn't lose someone. Me, sorry. deep sorry. Ranok utters with a gentle voice, and at first the tiger is taken aback, but then he laughs. Huh, may the light have mercy, what a day! He shakes his head in amusement. To hear an apology from the lips of a wolf, light does work in mysterious ways, it truly does. The farmer rubs off a tear from the corner of his eyes. And so, it falls onto me to offer the same. I am truly sorry for your losses. I know what the battle mages have done to your forest and the price you paid for your defiance, all because some damn fool poked his nose where it didn't belong. May the great dark swallow his soul. I drink to that. Ranok smiles softly and takes his cup, clinking it merrily with the tiger. I'm not sure what I'm surprised by the most. The fact that those two, at first glance, stark contrasting characters found a common ground, or the story that I've heard from the first night is more nuanced than I originally thought. It wasn't just wolves versus tigers at all. Within the tribe itself, there's a rift between generations caused by a shift of values. And here, in the wider world, that rift exists between social classes. Some things never change. Old people grow older and more stubborn, while rich get richer and increasingly detached from those beneath them. Thank you for your hospitality and an open heart. I mutter, looking to the tiger with genuine awe. Kept to think of it, this simple gesture might actually cost him quite a bit. This bread could as well have been his lunch he decided to share with us. The spice and herbs could be a luxury he spent months or years saving up for. It's the least I could do. This world was born out of darkness, and one day it'll be plunged right back into it. Our duty is to keep it bright for as long as there is breath in our bodies. To be the flickering flame that chases away the shadows. I smile. He's very religious, that's evident, a follower of the light Ranok likes to mock so much. But in all honesty, I don't see anything silly here, just a generous soul with a rather realistic, if not bleak, outlook for the world around them. How could he be any different when his life is so full of hardship? Indeed, the least we can do is help those in need. I find myself agreeing with the man. If only the whole world worked like that. I added with a slight resignation in my voice, to which Ranok begins rummaging in his purse. He pulls out a small coin and places it on the table, as one would do at a bar. Here, for thanks. He says in a rather confident tone, and both the farmer and I look at the money with confusion. A silver claw? Oh no, that's way too much. I did not invite strangers into my house to shake them down for coin. The tiger, although at first surprised, quickly becomes offended. This money be good, daughter to care, sad wife from death. The wolf tries to convince him as best he can, and despite his crude words, the tiger considers this for a moment before returning to fervently shaking his head. No, no, no. This is a good fortnight of hard labor. I couldn't just take it. I couldn't justify it. The port was only 12 copper, 12.5 if you count all spice that went into it. Good, we've refill back if any left. Ranok pats his wineskin and approaches a cupboard where the bottle stands. The farmer gets to his feet and frantically argues with the wolf, who slowly uncorks the bag. That's still too much. Perhaps if we were to break it? No, Small. Sorry. Ranok shrugs and begins to carefully refill the wineskin. We're really fine, sir. Perhaps on our way back you can host him again and thus even the scale? I pitch in, drawing a gentle swing of Ranok's tail. The farmer thinks about it for a moment, poking his chin, and then reluctantly nods. Yes, that could do. I can also offer some to the priest for a prayer, so that the light keeps you in its grace. Money yours now. Do as must, but light not living. The wolf says calmly, licking his palm clean of spillage, as some wine trickled from the seal between the bottleneck and the leather bag. Light no eat, no drink. It need no money, it waste. Same could be said for your moon goddess. The tiger scoffs in part amusement and annoyance, to which Ranok chuckles. I know. That's why she no ask for money. Okay, let's not get distracted here. I laugh at their petty exchange. It's a good deed Ranok has done, and I'm sure you'll be able to make wise use of the money according to your needs and beliefs. I propose a compromise, and they both look at me for a second before reluctantly nodding in agreement. Once the last drop of wine is transferred to the skin, Ranok plugs it and hangs it securely from his belt. There, we go now. He nods towards the door, and I decide that perhaps this visit has gone on as long as it should. I hastily empty the mug, stuffing my face with the last bit of a mild cheese before rushing to his side. The wine radiates from my belly like a small ember, shielding me slightly against the cold, still rainy world. Again, thank you very much for your hospitality. Not at all. Thank you for blessing my house with your presence. Blessing? I blink, confused, looking to Ranok for an explanation. Tiger custom, guest is blessing. He says crudely, and I turn towards the farmer as he leads us to the gate. That's because we believe light is in each and one of us. Inviting a stranger into your home is like inviting the light itself. If you make a dimmed candle shine brighter, you've done the world a service. I mean, I guess I can see that. Be nice to guests is good until guest kills you and takes your gold. Ranok blurts out, and I look at him wide-eyed until I'm even more shocked by the tiger bursting out in laughter as he pats the wolf on the shoulder. That may be true if you live in a palace with spare gold to be taken. Caution is not exclusive with generosity, my friend. If someone came to rob and kill me, it wasn't for the gold or my generosity. It was because they saw a struggling downtrodden and wanted to snuff out that flickering flame to begin with. That's awfully morbid. And true, some people live only to see the world burn. The male finally loses a sense of levity and speaks more seriously. A farmer like me, living in this remote, forsaken part of Avalon, is no target for desperate thieves. No, if I die, I'll die because I cross paths with a wicked soul, and then a lack of invitation wouldn't save this old cat from being cut down to size. I shudder at the comment, but to my surprise, Ranok smiles. Stay safe, tiger friend. I see you on way back. Should be 2 nights. I look forward to our meeting, Master Wolf. And I hope you'll enjoy your stay in Strandbard. It's no fry run, nor tiger run for that matter, but to us, small folk, it's grand enough. I'm sure I'll enjoy it as much as I can. I say with an evident lack of enthusiasm as I'm reminded yet again that I'm heading there only to be abandoned. With our goodbyes exchanged, we're back on the road, and although we cover our first mile or so in relative silence, I can feel that part of the prior tension between us was alleviated. And I, for one, am glad for it, even though I still hold onto some resentment. Your Tigiri seems excellent. The wolf states plainly, not even looking in my direction. Not that it surprises me. I knew you were one of them. If you say so. I shrug, not willing to entertain this topic again. I'm quite done with people telling me who I am or what I'm supposed to be. Besides, this language hopping is so confusing that I have no patience for it right now. Now my mind is more preoccupied with what's to come, and I'm not looking forward to it. The hours go by with the sun continuing its shallow arc across the gloomy sky. For the most part, Ranok gives me space, as he should, but it only worsens my mood. I guess his attention is divided between me and the water soaking his fur. He made it clear he doesn't enjoy the rain, and I can see now why. The skies have been drenching us for a while now, and despite water gliding off my skin, the cloth I wear became heavy and waterlogged. I can only imagine the extra weight he carries within his fur. With a deflected posture and tail tucked close to his gabasum, he's indeed in a sorry state. My heart craves to strike a conversation, but my mind prevails, and I hold my peace. And so does he. With my emotional struggle between anger and sadness, talking could quickly devolve into another argument, and that's the last thing I want. I simply admire the scenery, the farmland growing lusher and denser, with more elaborate houses dotting the fields the closer we get to Strandbard. Once we clear one of the many rolling hills descending from the heights of Turnen, we can see the city in the distance, nestled comfortably within a small valley. It is very compact, with houses tightly huddled within modest stone walls, but it doesn't stop the city from looking mighty impressive. Wow, that is both surprising and pretty much expected at the same time. I voice my thoughts, not sure why I'm taken aback by a perfect example of a medieval town. I guess it's still the reality of it all slowly sinking in. This world is real, no matter what the voice tries to convince me of. It's real and vibrant, and buzzing with life. Even from this small hill, I can see people crowding the main streets like ants, all chasing after their designated tasks of the day. Why is it called Strandbard? It's because of the Stranded Bard Inn, the wolf states matter-of-factly. During the Tigeri Rebellion, 3 battles took place in this area, with different armies marching up and down. He points into the distant hills, and his tail flicks softly, betraying happiness at this temporary accord between us. Not wanting to be caught in all the fighting, a bard stayed with the local farmer, while the war raged on around them. To pay his way, he performed drawing crowds from the local war-stricken villages. In the end, he stayed here for a decade and the farmer opened an inn. The Stranded Bard. I smile at the realization. It's right there, see? That long roof with 3 dormers? He points to a huge structure on the left-hand side of the city. Yeah. A village quickly grew around it, not long after the village turned into a city. To this day, the citizens of Strandbard pride themselves in sheltering refugees from far and... I get it. I grumble in annoyance, feeling a clumsy pitch incoming. I don't need to be sold on a place I have no part in choosing. But instead of spiraling into another argument, I decide to take a deep breath and look to the sky. Judging by the setting sun and the darkness creeping on the opposite side of the horizon, it is very close to 5 p.m. What hour would you say it is? A late one, that's for sure. The wolf responds stiffly, clearly unhappy with how delayed our arrival has gotten. Well, true, but more specifically? I'd say 9th, maybe 10th. Pretty much any official business will have to wait till tomorrow. How does the count work exactly? He looks at me with a slight surprise, but quickly shrugs it off. I guess he's used by now to my amnesia, leaving me entirely clueless for even the most obvious of things. You count the hours from the sunrise. The first hour starts at the break of dawn. Ranok says in that unintentionally condescending tone, and I nod in hesitant gratitude. The sunrise was probably around 7, which would mean that it is indeed 5 p.m. Huh, I'm getting quite good at this. I guess the lack of clocks isn't something as jarring as I initially thought. One gets used to the natural rhythm of things dictated by the world around them, rather than some artificial gizmo. I pull on the backpack's straps, readjusting it slightly, and we get on the move again. It doesn't take long to cover the distance between us and the gate, which grew nearer and nearer with each step. I smile at the sound of a milling wheel gently treading water next to the bridge. At first, I thought it was a moat surrounding the city, but it seems to be an actual brook. The brook itself is wide enough to warrant a double-arched bridge, providing a natural barrier on the city's western side. Thus, a single watchtower overlooking the crossing is all that's needed to ensure safety. Who goes there? A Tigeri guard steps forward and blocks the gate. He's young, but stern-looking, clad in chainmail armor. You, declare yourself! We pass. Stay at inn. Ranok responds casually, causing the soldier to narrow his brows. You are not one of our locals, are you? And what is he supposed to be? Livestock brought to be sold at the market. Very funny. Now beat it. We don't need jesters. He sneers, causing Ranok to straighten up in a more challenging stance. We enter. No, you do not. I would have to be insane to be letting a fully armed, overgrown mongrel like you enter our peaceful city. Take your bed warmer and go back to whatever wooden hovel you crawled out of. Ranok? I put a hand on the wolf's shoulder, trying to calm him down before things needlessly escalate. As much as I'd enjoy watching him eat a healthy serving of humble pie, I'm soaked and cold. I'd very much rather spend the night in a cozy tavern than a damp dungeon cell. There's no need for insults, sir. Oh, now you've learned some manners. For the last time, state your business or get lost. No business with you. I meet Chief. Ranok issues a soft growl, and the guard scoffs. Huh, that will be the day. Now beat it. I have no time to waste on the likes of you. We enter. Only over my dead body. Now draw that sword and make my day. He barks out, posturing with the spear aimed directly at us. I'm half worried an actual fight might erupt, but those fears are quickly dismissed when another soldier emerges from the gate. What is the meaning of this, Private? He speaks in a calm, collected manner, and judging by his words and much more elaborate armor, he's a superior. Captain, sir, I try to send away this riffraff, but they persist despite my warnings. I'll handle this. State your business, strangers, and make it brief. The captain's words are just as harsh as his inquisitive glances. I look to Ranok with worry, but the wolf has settled, clearly coping better with someone in authority. We enter, meeting with Tiger Chief. You don't speak the language, I see. It doesn't fill me with confidence that you're one of our own. What's that supposed to mean? I blurt out, caught off guard by the comment, and the captain gives me a grim look. Our wolves speak Tigeri. I'm not sure what you mean by your wolves, good sir, but I can assure you that we've just come from Turnan, and there are very few that speak your tongue. I state plainly, trying not to appear intimidated, which causes the tiger to take a second look at me and my attire. The dress finally comes in handy, and he turns to his subordinate in confusion. This is no riffraff. Are you both blind and deaf? Can't you hear the way he speaks? He stifles an annoyed growl and looks back at me with a much changed expression. It's soft and almost deferential. Forgive me, my lord. My men might be strict, but we were given orders to be wary of strangers traveling on the western road. I notice an aggravating smirk on Ranok's muzzle. After all, the tiger thinks I'm a noble. Oh, how come? There's been rumors of strange individuals roaming the countryside. Many fear the woven spies, which, I hope, explains our slight suspicion of your companion. The captain gives Ranok another, this time more careful and courteous look, and, to dispel any of his doubt, I decide to take over the exchange. Ranok's language barrier doesn't exactly help our cause here. We have a letter of introduction penned by the chief of Turnan himself. Would a spy present himself with such a document? Stranger things have happened in the last months, my friend. The tiger sighs, nodding in the distance. There's been armed groups of marauders from across the seas scouring the area. I do not doubt your sincerity, but you cannot begrudge me my caution either. He is a wolf after all. Of course, but he is no spy, I can assure you of that. I look to Ranok and flash my brows at the letter he has stashed behind his belt. Reluctantly, he removes it and passes it onto the tiger, who scrutinizes the seal. Those foreign wolves are part of the reason why we've come here. We were sent to meet with Lord Magistrate to treat with him and establish diplomatic relations between Strandbard and the Turnan tribe. Ranok, son of Varric, as ye say, Turnan. I've heard of your father. The captain scratches his chin, passing the unsealed envelope back to the wolf. For his sake, I hope you don't intend to follow in his paw prints. Me envoy, meet with Tiger Chief. Ranok reiterates through his teeth, oddly stirred by the ominous comment, which is evident in an annoyed flicker of his tail. The magistrate. The tiger corrects. But yes, I suppose you have the right of entry. But sir, was that an unprompted opinion, Private? He throws harshly at the guard for butting in, and the soldier moves back a few paces with a somewhat worried expression. No. Good, then I take it you just volunteered for latrine duty. The captain sneers and looks to us apologetically. You may go, my friends, but tread carefully, especially you. He narrows his eyes at Ranok. No funny business, Wolf. We always had little patience for your kind around here, nowadays, less than ever before. And with that warning, we're allowed through. That's actually where I'm going to leave it for today, because this part is the second to the last part, I guess you could call it. So, yeah. So, let's keep the discussion between what we just saw. Okay? So, as you can see, the outside of Turnen, meaning the tiger territory that surrounds the forest, is ravaged, and that ravage came by the war that was caused by the tiger noble that decided to just waltz into the woven forest and carve his name into a tree, thinking like, oh, wolves do this, I should do this too, without really thinking of the consequences. So obviously that did not end well for the wolves and for the people of the surrounding area, because the war was raged within the forest and outside of the forest. So I guess that was the point of that little excursion right up to Strandbard. And in a way, I guess this is the writer's way of trying to maybe say war bad. But yeah. Clearly, things between Ranok and Caelan are not that well yet. Like, it's not, they're on the surface trying to get along, but obviously that's not gonna work. Because Caelan is angry at Ranok, and Ranok thinks he is justified in his actions, so that he doesn't need to apologize, or at the very least, make amends for what's going to happen. And that's obviously going to drive a wedge between them, so it's not going to be so easy for them to be so amicable with each other anymore. And unless one of them relents, I don't see that, happening anytime soon. So, oh well. But, so what did you guys think of the update up until right now? Not going further than, what's going to happen later. We'll discuss that eventually. So, I personally think that... Okay, so disregarding what happens later, I personally think that maybe Ranok should make amends. Not make amends and be like apologetic or whatever. Well, actually no, yeah, be apologetic at least for having removed the option to say goodbye to these people. Like, at least maybe hide the intent with the goodbyes. But if that is really Caelan's major issue, then fine. I will conceive, no, Ranok should conceive to that. Say like, yes, I am sorry that I did not allow you to say goodbye to Vol, Korra, Trist, and Verissa. And maybe Tano, because as far as I see it, Tano isn't such a bad wolf anymore. Again, disregarding what happens later in this update. And for those that don't know, then, don't worry. You'll see eventually. But yeah. So, I guess thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself and figure out what's going on that I am not talking about yet, then you can find it over on itch. And I will, because obviously I can't directly link to the itch page for Far Beyond the World, since it is the one that decided to basically trigger warning signs or sirens throughout YouTube for everyone. I will post a link down for the creator's Twitter page. And I will also post a link down for the Patreon in case you want to support the project. And they do have a Discord, as you can see, and they do have merch at Popprint Press. And yeah. So I guess that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.